It has been 10 years to the day since my emergency brain surgery that I had back in 2014. And I don't know if I've ever really talked about this on the internet. I'm sure I've made like an Instagram post or something. But I figured, what a better time than now to kind of talk about the story and how it's affected me since then, how it's affected my health, my anxieties. 10 years is a big milestone, and I don't know, sometimes I don't want to think back on that time because it was really hard. But at the same time, I feel like I've come a really long way since then, and I just want to share it, you know? Anyway, so let's talk about it. I'll just do a brief recap of the lead up. It was March of 2014 and I was about to get married in June. I had been doing a lot of like workouts and exercises and dieting. And I was having some intermittent bad headaches, and I just assumed it was like lack of hydration, overexertion, all of those things. 6 months prior to that, I had woken up in the middle of the night with like the most excruciating headache I've ever had in my life. And I'm a normal headache getter, a hormonal headache getter, but nothing like never got migraines, none of that. That felt totally out of the norm for me. I just took some Advil and I went back to sleep and I was like, whatever. Fast forward 6 months, I start getting these bad headaches. Feels weird, but I'm just ignoring it. I'm just living my life. So on the 21st, I was babysitting. I was doing the 21-day fix, whatever. So there's like this obsession with eggs. So I was having eggs with sriracha on top. Worst. And I'm like, eating my eggs. And I just had this like overwhelming nauseous feeling, whatever, like overwhelming feeling of sickness. Like I was gonna vomit. So I run upstairs to the toilet and I'm like dry heaving, thinking I'm gonna throw up. And I don't. And I'm like, okay, this is so strange. Nausea, headache, whatever. I leave babysitting. On my way home, I start seeing like black spots in front of my eyes, not just like the little like swirlies you sometimes get when like the light switches, like straight up like black spots in my eyes, and I was having double vision as I'm driving. So terrifying. So I get home. I tell this to Steve, my then fiance. I tell this to my mom. Classic nurse, either your arm's falling off, they're like, you're fine, put a band-aid on it. Or you're like, I have a headache, and they're like, go to the ER, right? There's like no in between. They're either sending you to the ER or just being like, you're fine. So my mom's like, you need to go to the ER. And I'm like, no, I don't. It's just a headache. She's like, no, I really think you should. So I go to the ER. Steve has to work that night, but he takes me to the ER. He like gets me all signed in and he hangs out with me there because both of us are like, this is going to be nothing. They're just going to think I'm like a dumb 20-something who has like a bad headache. Boom, boom, I'm out. So I go through the whole process. I get through the whole ER. They get me into a bed and I'm sitting there twiddling my thumbs, and I vomit. All the eggs with sriracha. Absolutely horrifying in every way, as worse as you can imagine it. They're like, oh, we need to scan your head then. So I go back for what I believe is a CT scan. I'm pretty sure that's what they did. And I'm like, okay, I still don't think they're gonna find anything. Steve's like, hey, I gotta go to work. I'm like, cool. And I know that sounds like, he's like, bye, I'm leaving you in your time of need. But like when I tell you we really did not think this was gonna be anything, I was like, yes, go to work. I'll let you know if there's any issues. He goes to work. Also, my parents live in town at the time. So like I have people around, right? So I'm not worried about it. So the doctor comes in and he's like, guess what we found? He doesn't say it like that, of course. He's a very serious doctor. He's like, you have something called a colloid cyst. It's rare, I'm pretty sure. It was rare then. I think it's still rare. 1 in a million, if you will. She's 1 in a million. Not what I was going for. In small terms, there's a little benign tumor sitting in between, like at the crossroads of my ventricles and my head, at the foramen of Monroe. I don't even freaking know, okay? And it was blocking my spinal fluid from doing what spinal fluid's supposed to do, which is circulate your body, I guess. None of this is going to be scientifically accurate. So doctors, nurses, please feel free to correct me in the comments. Anyway, it was blocking my spinal fluid, causing pressure on my head, hydrocephalus, etc., blah, blah, blah. So the doctor's like, so you have 2 options. Meanwhile, I'm in like a little small town, Ocean City, right outside of Ocean City Hospital, small town hospital, okay? They are not doing any procedures here related to what's happening in my head. She's like, first of all, you have 2 options, this hospital in Philly or this hospital in Philly. Second option, you're gonna do something called an endoscopy for your brain, basically a brain surgery where they would remove the tumor. Or you're going to go in and place a shunt, which would like drain the tumor. That could have its own complications. The going in and trying to take it out and having major brain surgery can be its own complications, whatever. Let's go big or go home, take this friggin' thing out of my head. I decide to go to Penn. Meanwhile, I text Steve, surprise, surprise, not a dumb headache, actually have a brain tumor. It's benign, don't freak out. Have to have brain surgery in 5 seconds, also don't freak out. I go in an ambulance to Philly. I get admitted to the NICU, nope, I'm not a baby. Get admitted to whatever, the neuro ICU, right? I mean, you know what I'm saying. Neuro ICU for adults. And they watch me and they watch me. Then they put me into like a regular area of the hospital and they watch me and they watch me and they check on me every 5 seconds. And everybody comes to visit me because my entire extended family, all 50,000 of them, are in Philadelphia. So that was really a plus because I had like aunts and uncles and cousins and blah, blah, blah. And then Steve was with me. He finished his shift that night, that Friday night, and he drove up to the hospital and he basically lived in a chair for that weekend. My sisters and parents came up. My sisters were like so sweet and they just like divided up all my goods in case I died. Really, like I'm on my computer and I'm like, I could probably find the document. It's like my Prius goes to this person, my shoes go to this person. Anyways, it's very morbid, but whatever, sisters do that stuff. I was joking to Steve, like, what if I wake up and I'm like, who are you? Like in the vow, right? You know, and we're about to be getting married. So he didn't think that was too funny, but kind of funny. There was nothing I could do but wait to have surgery till Monday, which is like, if it was that emergent, why didn't you just like do it right then? But also I totally understand. I don't want anybody to come in on a Friday night who doesn't want to be there doing brain surgery. And I kept being so annoying, like, please don't shave all my head off. I think I probably said, unless I am lying on the table and the only thing you can do is shave all of my head to save me, please take as little hair as possible because I'm getting married in 5 minutes. So Monday morning rolled around. I had my surgery really bright and early. Everything went well. It was done in like 45 minutes. I mean, God bless the people who have learned to A, do brain surgery, and B, do it in 45 minutes, okay? I can't even freaking film this stupid video in 45 minutes. So it's successfully, completely removed. I think I had like drains coming out of my head. Thankfully, no one showed me myself in this time. So I'm in post-op, in the PACU, if you will. I think it was PACU. I have drains coming out of my head. I remember my sister coming to see me and being like, my sister Molly, who is, God love her, very dramatic in situations like this. She's like, oh my God, you look great, you look great. But like her eyes are telling me I definitely don't look great. Like I definitely look like one step from death. Steve was there by my side the whole entire time, which was like so great. And Molly brought me a passion tea lemonade from Starbucks because I was just like obsessed with that at the time. Again, the dieting, the not drinking anything, which like hardly any sugar. So I just want to apologize for the lighting. I've tried so many times to find the right spot, but my apartment is just like ever changing and I'm just trying to find like a space to film that's semi-quiet. So Molly brought me a passion tea lemonade and now anytime I drink those, like that's what I think of, which is like not too dramatic, just like borderline dramatic, right? I got this genius idea 6 hours into my recovery that I wanted a cookies and cream milkshake. Worst. Don't do it, okay? If you've had a head surgery, don't do that. Especially because I hadn't really been eating or drinking any dairy at all, so what genius idea was this? I don't know. But he brought me one and I vomited it everywhere, including on him. So I'm really glad we still got married. Neither of us have had any kind of cookies and cream ice cream since then. So 2 things I've not had in 10 years. Cookies and cream ice cream, eggs with sriracha on top. I remember being so scared in the lead up, right? So terrified. Really truly wondering if some of this stuff these were my last moments. I joked about it, but I was like, am I going to have memory loss, full function? Am I really going to be recovered in time to walk down the aisle in not even 2 months? Because it was March 25th and I was getting married June 7th. I was like, just so much uncertainty, right? And so much so quickly. And I remember them being like, oh, it could just spontaneously burst. That's why everything was like done so carefully in the lead up to having surgery. And the team was like so kind. All my nurses were so kind. My doctor was an absolute boss. I'm pretty sure he was like the head of neurosurgery. I am not sure how I landed that gig because I don't know anyone. I didn't pull any strings, but thankfully he was the one doing the case. Thankfully he knew what he was doing because this is also like a rare condition that is not happening a lot or wasn't at the time. So then there's also that concern, like, oh cool, like this is something that is not like commonly happening. It's not like a routine friggin', I don't know, appendix removal. I remember just having so much unknown and then also just really feeling at peace, really feeling loved by my family, by the people around me, by Steve. Confidence, you know, confidence that thankfully we live in a time where surgery is available for things like this and can save lives. I myself have had many surgeries, open heart surgery, spinal surgery, a surgery for pyloric stenosis, 2 C-sections, you know, like so many life-saving surgeries I'd already had at that point, not the C-sections obviously. So I'm really grateful for all of that, but it was just like a lot. It was a lot. It was overwhelming. But I tried to remind myself, you know, to do what I could to be at peace, to pray, to work through that, to be confident that whatever would play out, I would have the strength for. I would never say like, oh, I knew God was gonna do it, right? You know, like I have confidence, I have hope, but I had no idea how that was gonna turn out. I only could hope that it would be best case scenario, you know, to put total trust in my team and in family and my friends to be there for me, and to know that no matter what the outcome, I would get through it. I had confidence in that. I had faith in that. And I had faith that, you know, God was with me through it. So that really helped me. I had a super funny roommate who had like multiple boyfriends coming in that she wasn't telling, you know, nobody knew. We had to like be secretive about it. That's fun. And all in all, post-op, I only stayed in the hospital like 5 days, which I felt like was really quick for brain surgery. Then I went home and I had a longer recovery where I couldn't lift anything, I couldn't cook anything. I could basically just move from bed to couch, bed to couch. I think after like a week, Steve and I did a lap around Simpson Avenue in Ocean City, and I was so winded. And I'll never forget Steve being there for me too, like through all of that. I mean, we were only engaged, and I know engagement is huge, but it's not like we were married at the time. He's like sleeping in this plastic chair, calling out of work when he worked at a place that did not offer PTO or time off. Just, I mean, if ever there was a moment to feel like you were like living your vows or confident in what your vows were about to be, it was that for me, because he was just so there for me in a way that I just can't even describe. Anyways, it was really, really beautiful, and really, I'm really grateful for that. And thankfully, as silly as this is, I had planned so much of my wedding already. Like there was really nothing else to do, thank the Lord, because I just was kind of trying to focus on healing that whole time. And I had a scar. I mean, like obviously all the hair is all grown over and stuff now, but I had a scar like right up here. Basically, Steve said I looked like Arnold. Hey Arnold, the football head. So that was really cute. And it was funny. My stylist did an amazing job of covering up my hair. If you've seen my wedding photos, like you can't even tell, which is really, really nice. In June, I was able to get up to dance, to feel fully recovered. I had no issues. And that is just like incredible to me, to have lived my wedding day as if like nothing had happened. In my recovery, I joined like a Facebook group about survivors of the, you know, condition that I had, colloid cyst. Sometimes it was really helpful, but sometimes it was really like sad, because so many people had either like lost someone before they knew what it was, or had a surgery and didn't have as competent of a surgeon, or didn't have a similar outcome and had like a ton of residual side effects. Thankfully, I've had like no known side effects for myself. I will say occasionally I feel like I struggle to find like a word for something, but that could also be that I have 2 children and have not slept in 3 years. There's definitely moments where I feel like I struggle to recall a word or like a memory, but that's like really rare. I had a check-in at 5 years where I had an MRI. It hadn't returned. I know there's been instances of recurrence, so I probably will ask a doctor, you know, if that's something that I need to like check every once in a while, maybe every few years, maybe every 10 years. In my experience, I've not had anything that like has really affected me in a way where I felt like, oh, I think about how I've had brain surgery every day. It hasn't changed me in that way. And I am so grateful for that, because I know from seeing in this group, that's not the case for everyone. So even though I'm grateful, I don't have like residual headaches, I don't have anything like that that makes me feel like it's affected my day-to-day. I will say I have adopted some health anxiety from it, and that is something that does affect me. It has affected me in my pregnancies, it's affected me, and I mean also that's a whole other thing, you know, miscarriage and all that stuff affects it too. But I feel like because my headaches, even though severe, ended up being something potentially fatal, I do have a tendency to now hold anxiety around health issues for myself or the people around me that I love, for little things. I have to really be mindful and have really worked hard in therapy and in life to not go from the headache to brain tumor pipeline, right? Oh, my foot hurts. Maybe I have a infectious boil that will give me sepsis and I will die. I have a secret disease that I don't know about. I just feel like in some specific instances for me, related to my kids, related to Steve, related to myself, I can tend to go from 0 to 100 very quickly. Thanks, Drake. There are certain things where like if I'm scrolling on the internet or if I see something, like I have to move past it quickly. It will straight up trigger me, and I like can't allow myself to get into that space, because really that's not something that affects my day-to-day. Again, it's really just if something triggering happens, or if I'm sick or people around me are sick, that I have a tendency to kind of like react to that, right? In a way that I don't think that I would if I hadn't had this. So I'm grateful that that is like the most difficult thing that I'm dealing with. And like I said, I mean, 10 years later, I feel like the same person essentially for the most part, besides a few things.
Around the anniversary, it'll come up, bring up some of those feelings. I kind of reflect on it, but pretty much it's all gratitude, you know? Again, gratitude for Steve, for my medical team, for the people around me who helped me and supported me and did so much to take care of me afterwards. And gratitude for the Lord for getting me through all of it, you know, for giving me the faith and the strength that I needed to power through and to have hope and to trust that things were going to be okay. That if they weren't, that I could get through them. But I feel like these few days are always good for me to look back on and reflect on and just have a lot of gratitude around how it all played out. I think it really just makes me think about like 10 years time. Like I was 26, you know, I was so young, and I'm still young, but I guess I just feel like in like a weird way, in a melancholy, morbid, dramatic way, I'm like, look at all the life that I lived that I potentially could not have lived had I not found out about it or had something gone wrong. Had 2 kids, I've been pregnant 5 times. Steve and I are about to celebrate 10 years of marriage, which is just wild because some things feel like, again, they happened yesterday. It always makes me grateful. Grateful to my mom who advocated for me and insisted that I go to the ER even though I was like not having it. For the doctors who took things seriously, you know, who weren't just like, oh, this girl has a headache, she's fine. And to be able to be living a really full, wonderful, beautiful life with mild health anxiety. It feels like weird to talk about, but it was actually really cathartic for me to kind of go through it, to think back on it, to get it out. So I appreciate you being here and listening. And, you know, if something feels off, I'm not trying to like freak anyone out, but go to the doctor, advocate for yourself. Thanks for giving me the space to talk about this, to work through it, and to celebrate. 10 years since my brain surgery, 10 years of a really good life lived, and hopefully 10,000 more years to go. Okay, love you, bye. This light is so annoying.